On Palm Sunday, South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg threw himself into the presidential unveiling party.
And that's why I'm here today, to tell a different story than Make America Great Again. Because there's a myth being sold to industrial and rural communities. The myth that we can stop the clock and turn it back.
Now, never mind that Trump has sparked a manufacturing job renaissance that's been unseen in decades. Now, since he took office, more than 450,000 manufacturing jobs have been added to this economy. But when you got fancy magazine cover spreads and media acolytes, who needs these facts? And all the right media types, have you noticed? They're still dejected after the Russian collusion flop. They found themselves a brand new political messiah.
A really special day yesterday. Everybody stopped. They were watching Tiger, and they watched Mayor Pete. And I don't know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, just may be a day that a lot of people look back on and see history being made.
It was a remarkable day and two remarkable events. You're right to call them both remarkable.
Now, scintillating analysis as always. They're comparing Tiger Woods, one of the greatest athletes of all time, who wins the Masters after an 11-year drought that included huge personal and physical struggles, to Mayor Pete, mayor of a mid-sized city who announces he's running for president? What? And by the way, Tiger is an original. Buttigieg sounds an awfully like he's channeling the last Democrat president.
I recognize the audacity of doing this as a Midwestern millennial mayor.
I recognize that there is a certain presumptuousness in this, a certain audacity to this announcement.
We live in a moment that compels us each to act. Change is coming, ready or not.
We are choosing hope over fear. We're choosing unity over division and sending a powerful message that change is coming to America.
Well, but beneath the Obama cadence, it was pretty good, by the way, and the Boy Scout demeanor, Mayor Pete's rap doesn't quite add up, at least not yet. Now, here's the first principle of his campaign.
First comes freedom, something our conservative friends have come to think of as their own. But let me tell you, freedom does not belong to just one political party.
Well, that's just silly and patently false. Who said it did? But when you have little to run on in a race with 17 other Democrat primary challengers, if it sounds good, just say it.
Our conservative friends care about freedom, but they only make it part of the way. They only see freedom from, as though government were the only thing that can make somebody unfree. But it's not true. Your neighbor can make you unfree.
Okay, well, he didn't quite explain what that meant. He just went on to the next thing. But could your neighbor take away your freedom? I mean, a neighbor can disagree with you and be annoying and even commit a crime or a civil infraction against you. But how can a neighbor make you unfree? We'll find out, maybe. Well, Mayor Pete seems to see the federal government as a crusading force for good that should be used to protect us from our neighbors. Now, understand this. That view itself is pretty radical. In Federalist 45, James Madison explained that the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution of the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. Now, the sentiment of what the federal government should do, power should be, was repeated by numerous state delegations during the constitutional ratification process, including by New York. Now, they understood that freedom contracts with an ever-expanding federal government presence because it moves into every area of your life. But again, for a supposedly trailblazing candidate, Buttigieg is just another conventional liberal.
Women's equality is freedom. Because you're not free if your reproductive health choices are dictated by male politicians or bosses.
Okay, well, we've heard that before, but abortion is freedom? Well, certainly not for the unborn child in the womb, or for that matter, the child born after a botched abortion in this new Democrat Party. I don't see the freedom there. Well, again, push past the carefully studied, meticulously measured rhetoric, and what Mayor Pete really has is a beef with our Constitution.
And we can't say it's much of a democracy when twice in my lifetime the Electoral College has overruled the American people. Why should our vote in Indiana only count once or twice in a century? Or your vote in Wyoming or New York?
Okay, well, we live in a representative democracy, not a pure democracy. Maybe they left out that entire discussion from the Harvard government lectures. But the Electoral College protects the votes of people in states like Indiana. Otherwise, back to the framers, this is government of, by, and for the people of California and New York. Oh, and by the way, this revolutionary candidate is basically a carbon copy of the most radical House freshman on the issue of climate change, asking all the skeptics.
Are you saying, for instance, that some of the talk about retrofitting every building in America or trying to make the country carbon free by 2030, that's just unrealistic?
We're going to have to do it. Look,
by 2030?
If we can't do carbon free, then we'll do net carbon free, which means that we're taking out as much as we're putting in.
Now, translation. A massive wealth confiscation is needed, forced and overseen by the federal government to fulfill this Green New Deal. And by the way, a government whose elites under President Pete would decide which cars need to be sent to the trash heap and which buildings are up to code. Mayor Pete is academically very accomplished, and he deserves real respect for serving in the Naval Reserves, 7 months in Afghanistan. But he's a run-of-the-mill liberal on most issues, and he's running against an economy that is on fire because of the policies of President Trump, who has largely kept us out of more foreign entanglements that most liberals are against. So if this were maybe George W. Bush presiding over a cratering economy with an unpopular war abroad, maybe a guy like Buttigieg would stand a strong chance. But given the prosperity at home and America's current place in the world, the left had better find a new Messiah. There's going to be no resurrection for this one. And that's the angle.